Target evasion.
Hasta la vista, Cody.
Target acquired.
I've been waiting for you.
Welcome to Durbania. I'm Durbin.
I'm Laura.
And this is our spoiler talk review for Terminator Dark Fate. Now, I'm not going through these reviews alone. Clearly, my wife is sitting right here beside me, but I'm referring to Film Trigger, Stevie over at Film Trigger. I went to high school with him. He started this awesome YouTube channel, and in collab, we've been going through all of these Terminator movies on our own channels, and Sean Chandler, Cody Leach, we accidentally did it with them as well, and so it's been an absolute blast. So this week, he's gonna join me on this channel, and we're gonna rank all 6 Terminator movies worst to best. So make sure you check out his Dark Fate review after you've checked out our Dark Fate review. So, Laura, spoiler-free review, I gave it a B+. What are your thoughts?
I'm a little more pessimistic than you, and I did not grow up with the Terminator movies.
I didn't really either, but they're fun.
Yeah, but you grew up with Arnold Schwarzenegger type
That's
movies.
true, I did.
I B-. I enjoyed it. It was fun, but I have no need to see it again because lots of plot holes, but it's Terminator, so you expect that. And unrealistic action, but it's Terminator, so you expect that. So other than that, though, it's just, if you're in the mood for a fun action flick,
Oh, it's good.
It fits the bill.
In fact, I think of all the Terminator sequels, and this is me saying I really like Terminator Salvation. I thought that was a really good movie. But of all the Terminator sequels, this is the one that I feel like fits the most. It feels the most like the Terminator.
And Terminator 2.
Yes, and it has the most natural progression of what would come next from Terminator 2. Which brings me to this, because on my spoiler-free review, I got this great comment from Go Time Now, and he watches my videos a lot, comments a lot, so thank you so much for that. And this comment that he left was really good and insightful. I liked it. He says, "Weren't you mad about the first 10 minutes, though?" So in the first 10 minutes of Dark Fate, we go back to the year of 1998 and watch kind of a last remnant of the Terminators from Arnold Schwarzenegger come back in time and actually succeed in his mission to kill John Connor.
Yes.
But that 10 minutes, it did not upset me, because that's part of what I felt like was the utmost natural progression. Because Terminator 1 was kind of about the concept of fate. And so when it came to time travel, it was a closed loop. You have Skynet that sent the T-800 back in time to kill Sarah Connor so that her son would never be born. And so they sent Kyle Reese back to protect her, which then made John Connor. So it was this closed loop. I mean, everything creatively from the picture, you know, Kyle Reese having the picture taken at the end. So boom, that's what's gonna happen. And then Terminator 2 is kind of the next natural progression from that, because it questions the idea of fate. I mean, if we're creatures with free will, could we not make choices that changed the outcome? And how they took down Cyberdyne and destroyed every little last remnant of the Cyberdyne technology and destroyed Skynet. They ended the movie with that question: did fate change? Like, did everything? And so I think Terminator 3 was the next natural progression of that. It made sense to me. John Connor could die.
Yes.
Because he and Sarah, they finished their mission. It was 1998. The world was saved. There is no Skynet.
And what better way to show us that, you know, it's not fated to be?
Yes.
They changed what we thought the history or the future history, it's so convoluted, what it was going to be by doing this. Now, I can understand some people were really upset because the director at Comic-Con said that he was coming back.
Yes.
And, yeah, for those people who thought they were going to see John Connor in his
Edward
role.
Furlong as John Connor.
Yes, sorry. I forgot the actor's name. But if for those who thought they were going to see him in that role as John Connor and see him bringing it, like, and then I can understand how that's kind of like a kick in the pants. So,
but you see, I missed some of that build-up, so I wasn't really anticipating, like...
Yeah.
And in the trailers, Edward Furlong is just not showing up in there. And
that's why I didn't think he was going to be a big part.
Like, you can either take that as they're saving the role of John Connor for a surprise, or his role didn't have a big part. And the fact that Sarah Connor was there with no mention of John, I just kind of went, he's probably not going to have a big role. I'll be curious to see.
I in my head, honestly, I thought he's either going to die.
Yep.
Or it would be one of those things where he comes at the very end with, like, this militia army that is like secret in the mountains. I don't know, something weird
Yeah.
off the wall like that.
But what I thought was interesting is, okay, so this is a good natural progression from T2, and it shows there is fate because you're traveling from the future, but then you see human choice. But what was interesting about this one is its idea of the dark fate, because the reason now that there's no Skynet, but we still got Legion, the reason that still exists is because of the darkness in the human heart to mess with what they don't fully understand. And so even though we changed and got rid of Cyberdyne and all the Terminator technology that traveled from that time, from 2029 to our past, now we have 2042 and we have Legion, because it seems to be the dark fate of the human heart to meddle in those things that they don't understand and create the evil that's going to bring about their judgment day.
Well, you know, people trying to have machines do their job, you know, so that they don't have to pay employees, they just pay a one-time fee. Where do we see that happening?
And so I thought, as far as sequels go, even though Terminator 3 had a lot of familiarity to it, where you have the good guy that appears in the time bubble in the past, and then you have the bad guy that appears in the time bubble in the past, and they go to acquire their targets, like, even though it had so much of that stuff that felt very familiar,
Yes.
I just felt like it was the next natural progression of the series. And so to me, I feel like with Terminator and Terminator 2 and Dark Fate, we have a solid trilogy.
Yes.
It should end there, and they shouldn't make any more.
No, they need to stop. But
No.
I am, if this does well, I bet they continue on.
Oh,
it
of
just won't
course.
have Schwarzenegger.
No, but we'll get into
Well,
that here in just
Who
a little
knows?
bit.
Maybe it will.
Yeah, maybe they'll find some way to throw another copy that managed to live, living
Yes.
somewhere else. So there's a lot of interesting things about. I think one of the things though, and I probably caught this more, and it was a B+ thing for me more that made me like it, was the whole thing with the biblical names. So first you have Grace, and she was the protector sent back in time to protect Danny. And in my head I went, oh, that's cute. Grace coming back to protect man with Judgment Day on the way.
Yes.
Ha ha. Then the next thing was, instead of Skynet, it's called Legion. And I went, wait a minute. Legion was the name of the horde of demons that possessed that one dude, and Jesus cast out that horde. Okay, so we're going biblical names. And then the model number of our new bad Terminator was the Rev 9. So of course I had to open up the book of Revelation and look at chapter 9. So interesting that chapter deals with the apocalypse, where this angel with the key to the abyss unlocks the abyss, and these locusts just crawl out over the earth, and there's many of them, so it's like a horde. It's like a
we are
legion of
many
these
and we
things.
are one. Yeah.
Their mission was not to harm nature, the trees, the grass, but it's to harm the people, and it seems to fit. And then you have the whole idea of the Rev 9 is more than just one. He's two, so it's almost like he himself is a legion.
Yeah, and we see that when he separates.
Yes, and he looks kind of locusty in one of the scenes where he separates, and I
Yes.
just thought, wow, what an interesting biblical picture that this movie presents. The dark fate of humanity is that sin inside of us that drives us to meddle with what we don't understand. We create our own oppression and bring about our own judgment day, and then grace intervenes and comes back in time and dies to save humanity and to lead Danny to realize her full potential.
Now, if the writers did not intentionally do that,
They had to.
I would be shocked.
That is too clever with
That
the
is
Rev 9,
way
Legion,
too much of a
Grace.
coincidence.
And then it goes deeper into the whole idea of having purpose.
Yes.
That Arnold Schwarzenegger as Karl needed to have a purpose.
Oh, Karl.
And realizing his purpose, he was active to give Sarah Connor a purpose.
Yes.
Another Bible verse, without vision, the people perish. And so he had to have a purpose for himself after he completed his mission. And so he gave Sarah a purpose for her life. And so I was like, this is interesting. The whole biblical notion there, the sacrifice of grace to save humanity and us needing purpose. I was like, B+ for that for sure. I found that whole thing incredibly interesting.
Do you believe in fate, Sarah?
So the return of Arnold, what did you think?
Oh, Karl. So I'm glad they didn't tell us his name. Well, it's on the cast list that his name is
Yeah,
Karl.
in IMDb it says
And
Karl.
in the
but-
movie, when they're on their way to run into Arnold Schwarzenegger and you see the Karl Draperies van,
Yes.
you know that's going to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. But it's just, I just enjoyed Karl.
Yep.
He was just a fun Terminator. I mean, I liked in one scene while they're waiting for somebody and he's talking about the drapery business with Danny and he's like, yes, they wanted to put a solid color. And I'm like, no, that's a mistake.
You need clowns
or
stars
balloons or unicorns or who knows. But I mean, Arnold was great because honestly, he's a great straight-faced, straightforward, like not trying to add jokes but having the jokes in it. It's that dry humor that just fits him so well.
Oh man, it's amazing how he's able to show emotion without showing any emotion.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that I find so good about his role. But here's what I found kind of interesting about how they brought Karl into this, because in Terminator 2, the thing I think that just elevates that movie even above the original is how he became the father figure to John Connor.
Yes.
In his programming, after he was reprogrammed by the Resistance, you see that he has this ability to learn human nature and learn about humans, so he doesn't experience emotions like we do, he doesn't feel love like we do. All of this, the beginning of it gets explored in Terminator 2 as he cares for John and becomes that father figure.
Yes.
I know now why you cry. But it's something I can never do.
I thought that was incredibly smart and creative of this movie, that once he killed John Connor, but now there's no Skynet, so no orders came to him. What does he do now? He had to have purpose. So he protected this woman being abused by her ex and protected her child, and that became his purpose. And that emotional growth happened with him in this family. The family that he almost had between Sarah and John, he now has with somebody else. So now by the time Sarah comes back into this, he's grown emotionally, and we get to explore the next level of that. I thought that was so clever.
Yes, and you know, the way he showed, you could tell he wanted to express and understand love.
Yeah.
It's like there was this desire in him, but at the same time, that desire is hard because he's a robot. And robots can't inflict that kind, not inflict, but they can't have that kind of emotion.
They can't inflict that kind of love.
I didn't mean inflict.
I know,
it was
it's
the wrong
hilarious.
word, it just popped out. But I enjoyed Karl. I mean, he's a Terminator, so him doing unrealistic action sequences is all right for me.
And it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, because he's a Terminator. He's a robot.
And Laura, he is extremely funny.
Yeah. And then he said, I told the family I won't be back. And I'm like, that's not the line I want to hear. And then when there's the sunglasses there and he didn't pick them up and put them on, I'm like,
oh, come on. Put the sunglasses on.
I'm
You
like,
are
give us
the Terminator.
some fan service here.
Yes.
No, I actually didn't care.
They gave us a lot of fan service.
They did.
Especially when Karl sacrificed himself, like kind of hanging onto that ledge when the Rev 9 was hanging on him and he let go and fell. Very reminiscent of him going down into the lava in Terminator 2.
I'm sorry.
But different enough.
Yes, but if you watch this movie, you are going to see a lot of things pulled from all the other Terminator movies. It is not unique. It's not an individual movie.
Right.
It's like, because you see the the Terminators, doing things that you've seen in the other movies but weren't in 1 and 2. So you'll notice a lot of a lot of similarities through these.
But see, I didn't mind that familiarity.
No, I didn't mind it either, but some people might have issues with that. And so that's why I just thought I'd mention it.
Well, I mean, it's a very familiar story, and it's kind of hard to build on that premise. But like I said, even though you watch the movie, and in terms of a lot of the action, and they have a lot of callbacks to Terminator 2 and Terminator 1 and stuff, even though they do a lot of that, I feel like in terms of the story, it was the next natural progression, and I enjoyed that. And it was cool to watch these characters grow. So Danny, and you said this to me earlier, it's kind of obvious it wasn't she was going to carry a child.
Oh yeah, she was it.
She was the leader.
Yeah, you could tell that right from the beginning.
Yeah.
I'm like, they can't do the same thing.
No, they can't. And you could and even when, Sarah Connor makes the guess, oh, let me guess, they want to kill her because her son saves the world. Mm-hmm. And you can kind of look at Grace's expression and see that ain't the case at all. Oh, yeah,
that's when you know for sure that she's the leader.
And you could tell Sarah Connor cut something off, so there's another revelation coming. And there's only so many revelations you could pull in a moment. So it's telegraphed.
Yes. But Danny, I mean, her character, she's in the whole movie, but I feel like she's a backseat character. You're really watching Sarah Connor.
Yeah.
You're watching Arnold Schwarzenegger, and you're watching Grace, the hybrid Terminator.
Augmented
yes.
human.
Yeah, which I would like to know more about how that process
That
works.
is an interesting process. There's a part of me that's kind of like, I enjoy the mystery of it.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting that the augmentation gives her all these strengths in
Well,
fighting
it
a Terminator.
basically makes part of her Terminator inside, but she still has free will and control.
Right, but that's like her strength, like physically, her eyesight, her hearing, all that is awesome. But then after exerting herself, she's just suddenly so weak and needs insulin
She
and other
needs
stuff.
insulin among other medications, which they didn't explain why. It's
No.
just she needed it.
It's just she had that burst, and so she had to replenish herself because you got to think the cybernetic parts is exuding even more than what the
Yes.
natural human can. So it's interesting how that's a strength and a weakness. And I thought, well, that's kind of cool, and they
Yeah.
were consistent with using that in the movie, so
Yes.
it was cool.
Yes, I thought Grace did a great job.
I did too.
I enjoyed that character. My surprise was Sarah Connor. I didn't realize she's been out of acting for so long of a period of time, so I was glad to say that I thought she was Sarah Connor. Like, she felt like the Sarah Connor. I mean, she felt a little more level than the Sarah Connors from 1 and 2, because 1, she was like a scared little girl. 2, she was psycho.
You're already dead, everybody. You're dead already. This whole place, everything you see is gone.
And 3, or I'm calling this one 3, Dark Fate, she leveled out because she's had all this time
Yeah.
to work on her life.
And she's a bit more wounded because of the death of John.
Yes.
But like you said, though, you kind of see that she's leveled out. And so it's kind of cool because you watch her character grow in this. When she sees Arnold again, it reopens that wound of John being killed.
Yes.
And I'll never call you Karl. Like, great moments like that. And then at the end, when Danny was in trouble, she's like, Karl, wake up! Like,
Yeah.
she calls him by his name and is even sad when he dies. So you kind of watch her...
Sad-ish.
Sad-ish, but you kind of see that she's starting to heal.
Yeah.
And so you get to see that. Danny was cool because you see she's got the leadership in her, and you see she's strong, but she can't even drive at the beginning of this.
Yeah.
And then at the end, she goes, no, I will run no more. This is where I make
Yeah.
my stand. So you get to see her grow. And so you did get to see good character growth and character
Yes,
arcs.
and her compassion, I think, is what makes her such a strong leader. And
Yes.
you see her compassion
That was
from the first
John
scene
Connor.
on.
And Terminator 2, it's the same thing when they're like, let's kill the dude who created Cyberdyne and created Skynet. And John Connor was the guy who rushed in to even defend that guy. And so, like, that's cool that they're sticking with the idea that the reason the leader of the human resistance works is because of the compassion in their heart.
Yes.
Thing that I find kind of interesting is you go back to the first 2 Terminator movies. Here is Skynet wanting to defeat the resistance before it could start, but in reaching back in time, they created John Connor.
The resistance.
And here it's the same thing in this.
Yeah.
The enemy tried to send something back in time to cut off the root of humanity's hope, and all it did was it ended up building up humanity's hope and making her capable of leading.
I know, what I'll be curious if they decide to do another movie, it's going to be T2 again. It's going to be
Yeah.
Sarah Connor and Danny, because those are the 2 who drove off into the sunset together.
Maybe a good version of the Rev 9.
And maybe a good version of the Rev 9 is going to come back, yeah. And it's like, and so I feel like that is what that would be what the next movie would be. And I'm like, that's why I hope they stop here.
I would hope if they did do a sequel to this, and I hope you're all listening, those execs in Hollywood, that the sequel, because here's what we got. They defeat Legion, and that's why the dude was sent back in time. So let's just cut all the way forward in time and watch Legion be defeated and end with Grace being sent back. That would be kind of interesting. So I would rather that.
Get some information on how the augmentation happens.
That would be pretty cool.
Because I would like that, but I like that stuff.
But really, end here. We know humanity's going to defeat Legion. It's fine.
Yeah.
This is a great way to cap off a good trilogy. What did you think of the action?
Unrealistic. But what do you expect from a Terminator? Let me tell you, there's this sequence that I feel like it just doesn't stop at the end. You know, we get to the area where they're in the plane, and there's a lot of crazy stuff that happens before this, but we're flying in a plane, and all of a sudden the Rev 9 comes in a similar plane and like crashes into them, and instead of going down, somehow they're still able to fly with their plane half ripped to shreds. There's a hunter in the back of this plane with a parachute. So they're like, oh, let's get into the parachute Hummer because we'll be safe that way. So we're going down the parachute Hummer now, somehow still alive, while, you know, the T-800 is finding Rev 9 and Grace is trying to get them down there. We end up in, I want to say it was probably the Hoover Dam. And next thing we know, we're on the Hoover Dam and we're sideways and we're stuck in the Rev 9 sees us. So let's cut off the parachute and go straight down the Hoover Dam and tumble a whole bunch in this Hummer. And somehow Grace is away from us. So now it's just Sarah, Connor, and Danny inside of here with the Rev 9 coming at them. And they're like, oh, let me shoot a gun in this area where I'm going to drown. But you know, somehow I'm going to survive this. And then I'm going to open up a different parachute that's somehow in my Hummer. And it's going to tangle up the Rev 9. And I'm going to shoot. And not lots of water is going to come rushing in. And my bullets are going to keep moving forward in water. And then we're going to just swim right on up. I'm sorry, the only water gunshot I've ever seen that is realistic to me is in John Wick 1. When John Wick shoots it and you see it go like this.
That's John Wick 3.
John Wick 3. When you say, really?
Yes, that's when
oh
they
my
get
gosh,
in the pool.
they all merge. I love those movies. But they go like this, ooh, and I'm like, that's what I think a bullet would do.
See, while I agree with you,
John Wick 3.
I agree with you, yes, the action was incredibly unrealistic. The Jeep scene was the most unrealistic scene.
But it kept going from there.
But the Jeep scene was better than the bus in Terminator Genesis that flipped head over
just
heel.
Pretend that doesn't exist because they're all dead there.
Yes.
Makers of How It Should Have Ended, the bus flipping, gone. Actually, there's probably a couple scenes before that they should have been gone.
That's true. But point is for me personally, it's like, what else was I expecting? I enjoyed the fun mindlessness of the action. And it was clean. Like, you could see the action. It wasn't like all like shaky or whatever.
Mostly,
I could see it, yeah.
And so, you have to know that the action in Terminator movies is not realistic, nor will it ever be realistic.
But it's fun.
Yes, so you've got to go into this movie thinking, I'm going to turn off my mind. The boundaries of what really could happen in the world do not exist. Because this is an alternate universe, I'm assuming.
It is time-traveling robots, so we're good. Yeah.
So, just go in there to have fun, and you're going to enjoy it.
So for me, B+.
For me, B-. I had fun. I did, but I don't need to see it again.
So what did you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Would your grade be higher? Would it be lower? Let's talk about that in the comments. And while you're there, hit that subscribe button to become a Durbanian and hit the bell by the subscribe button so you're notified when Film Trigger joins me on this channel and we rank all the Terminator movies worst to best. Plus, you'll be notified whenever I drop another movie review, theological analysis, or anything else I do here. I'm Durbin.
I'm Laura.
Thanks for checking out Durbania.